Hello, my name is Cavill and welcome back to The Dragon's Lair. Today we are delving deep into the world of Dragon Ball and perhaps one of narrative fiction's greatest redemption arcs. I am of course talking about Vegeta, the Prince of all Saiyans. So, without further ado, sit back, relax, get yourself a snack or maybe something to drink, and settle in as we explore the pride of the prince. In the world of narrative fiction, there is a law that almost every writer follows. The character belongs to the creator. The author decides who lives, who dies, and who finds grace. But every once in a while, a character becomes so potent, so deeply resonant with the collective psyche of the audience that they break that law. They refuse to go where the author wants them to go. In the early 1990s, Akira Toriyama, the legendary creator of Dragon Ball, had a problem. He had created a villain that was meant to be a once-off foil. A cruel, arrogant, diminutive prince whose only job was to make the hero look better before being killed off. Toriyama famously stated in interviews that he didn't even like the character. He tried to kill him. He tried to marginalize him. But the world wouldn't let him. Today, we are diving into the most complex, frustrating, and ultimately beautiful redemption arc in the history of shonen manga. We're talking about Vegeta. Think back to the year 1994. The Buu Saga. A man who had once travelled the stars, wiping out entire civilizations, stands in a crater. He has spent decades defined by a singular, toxic obsession: being the best. He has murdered, he has betrayed, and he has raged against a universe that refused to give him his birthright. And then he does the unthinkable. He hugs his son. He tells his rival, the peasant he spent a lifetime hating, that he is number one. And then he turns himself into a living bomb to protect the planet he once tried to destroy. As he turns to gold dust, the narrator tells us, "A proud Saiyan prince has at last found a heart." How did we get here? How does a genocidal warlord become a character that millions of people look to as an icon of self-improvement? To understand Vegeta's redemption, we have to look past the energy blasts and the power levels. We have to look at the philosophy of the soul. Vegeta represents a bridge. On one side, he stands in the ancient world. This is the world of born greatness. It's the world of a caste system, of kings and proletariats. In this world, your value is determined the second you are born. You are an elite because your blood says so. You are a prince because your father was a king. And for the first half of his life, Vegeta is a prisoner of this ideology. If he isn't the strongest, his entire existence is a lie, because his status is his only identity. But on the other side of that bridge is the modern world. It's the world of earned worth. It is the world where identity is a choice, not a birthright, and it's the world of a self-made man. The tragedy and the beauty of Vegeta is he spends the entire series being beaten into the dirt by a low-class warrior named Goku, who refuses to play by the rules of the ancient world. Every time Vegeta loses, he isn't just losing a fight. He's watching his entire worldview crumble. His redemption arc isn't just about becoming a good guy. It's a 30-year-long psychological deconstruction of a man who has learnt that being a prince is meaningless, but being a father is everything. It's the story of a man who has to lose his planet, his pride, and his life just to find out who he actually is. In this episode, we're going to explore the sociology of the Saiyan race, the Byronic Hero trope that made him a Western icon, and the underdog pathos that made him a Japanese phenomenon. We're going to find out why the man Toriyama wanted to kill is the man we refuse to let go of. This is the pride of the prince. Before we can talk about the prince, we have to talk about the monkey. To understand why Vegeta was such a shock to the system, you have to understand the world he was about to invade. For years, Dragon Ball was the story of Son Goku. And Goku isn't just a character. He's a mythological archetype rooted in centuries of Eastern tradition. Goku is the direct reimagining of Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, from the 16th century Chinese novel Journey to the West. In that original myth, the Monkey King is a creature of pure, chaotic instinct. He's born from a stone. He challenges the gods, and he seeks immortality simply because he can. Early Goku is that exact same energy. He's a child of nature. He is empty. He has no ego, no social status, and no desire for power. He just wants to see what's over the next mountain. In narrative theory, we call Goku a flat character arc. Now, that doesn't mean to say he's boring. It means that he doesn't change his core values. Instead, he stays exactly who he is, and his purity forces the world around him to change. He turns villains into friends, and cowards into heroes just by standing near them. If you look at Goku through a Japanese philosophical lens, specifically Zen Buddhism or Taoism, he represents the ideal of Mushin, or no mind. When Goku fights, he isn't fighting for the pride of his race. He isn't fighting to prove that he's better than you. He's fighting because the act of fighting is a form of meditation. There is no self in Goku's martial arts. He's a vessel for pure effort. In the eyes of the original Japanese audience, Goku was the ultimate expression of spiritual detachment. He was the perfect hero because he was perfectly unselfish. But then, something fascinating happened. Dragon Ball crossed the ocean. When it hit the United States and Europe in the late 90s, Western audiences didn't see a Taoist monk, they saw Superman. In the English dubs, Goku was reframed. He was the benevolent alien orphan. He was the savior of the innocent. We projected our own Western superhero archetypes onto him. We made him a champion of justice. But whether you saw him as a Zen master or a man of steel, by the end of the original Dragon Ball run, Goku had achieved something dangerous for a storyteller. He had reached the top. He had defeated the Demon King Piccolo. He had become the strongest man on Earth. He was married. He had a son. He had reached a state of relative perfection. And this is where Akira Toriyama found himself in a corner. How do you challenge a hero who has no ego? How do you threaten a man who is content with everything? You can't just give him a stronger monster to punch. You have to give him a philosophical wall. You have to find someone who represents the exact opposite of everything Goku stands for. Goku is the no-self. This new person must be total ego. Goku is the peasant. This person must be the aristocrat. Goku is effort. This new person must be entitlement. In 1988, a small round spaceship slammed into the Earth's crust. Out stepped Raditz, the warning. But behind him, waiting in the cold silence of space, was the reality. The Prince of all Saiyans was coming. And he wasn't just coming to kill Goku. He was coming to prove that Goku's entire life, his training, his kindness, his very existence was a mistake. The battle for the soul of the series was about to begin. When we talk about the greatest villains in fiction, we often talk about their power, their ability to destroy. But the most effective villains don't just threaten the hero's life, they threaten the hero's logic. In 1989, Dragon Ball Z introduced the Saiyans, and with them it introduced a philosophy that was the polar opposite of the work hard and be kind message that Goku had lived by for over a decade. Enter the Prince. Think back to the first time we see Vegeta. He isn't the one doing the fighting. He's sitting on a rock, calmly eating an alien limb, while his massive hulking subordinate Nappa levels an entire city with the flick of 2 fingers. In narrative theory, this is a brilliant use of the subversion of the brute trope. Usually, the boss is the biggest, loudest, and most physically imposing figure. Think of the giant ogres or dragons of folklore. But Toriyama flipped the script. He made the lackey a giant and the master a small, refined, articulate aristocrat. This told the audience something terrifying. This man's power doesn't come from his muscles. It comes from his nature. He's so dangerous he doesn't need to be big. He's a predator in a suit of armor. This is where Vegeta becomes the dark mirror of Goku. We call this a narrative foil. To understand the conflict, you have to look at their social standing. In the Saiyan world, your value is determined at birth. If your power level is high when you're a baby, you're an elite. If it's low, you're a low-class warrior. Goku is the proletariat. He was an infiltration baby, sent to a weak planet to die or conquer it by luck. He represents the self-made man, who reached the top through sheer agonizing effort. Vegeta is the aristocrat. He was born with a power level that most adults would envy. He represents the inherited greatness of the elite. When Vegeta calls Goku low-class trash, or a clown, he isn't just being mean. He's stating the biological fact of his culture. In Vegeta's mind, Goku is a violation of the laws of physics. It would mean that work is more important than blood. And for a prince, that is a terrifying thought. For the Japanese audience, this hit a very specific cultural nerve. Japan has a long history of rigid social structures. Most famously, the 4-tiered caste system of the Edo period. Samurai, farmers, artisans, merchants. For centuries, your life was a fixed track. You were what your father was. Vegeta is the walking, breathing embodiment of the feudal lord. He's obsessed with his face, his giri, the obligation to his title, and his rank. When Goku, a commoner who doesn't even know his own history, challenges him, it's not just a fight, it's a theological crisis. If the commoner beats the prince's entire life, every sacrifice he made to be the greatest, was for nothing. This is why Vegeta refuses to give up. He isn't fighting for Frieza. He's fighting to keep the truth of his universe intact. Now flip the perspective. For Western audiences, Vegeta wasn't a feudal lord. He was the ultimate social Darwinist. He was the might makes right imperialist. To us, he represented the cold, uncaring machine of the system. He was the bully who believed that because he was stronger, he had the right to own you. Western fans saw the individual fighting against the Empire. It felt like the classic underdog story, Rocky in space. We wanted to see the elite get knocked off his pedestal, because in the West, we value the rebel who breaks the system. And then the fight ends. It doesn't end with a death. Goku, bloody and broken, begs Krillin to let Vegeta live. Not because he wants to save him, but because he wants to fight him again. For Vegeta, this mercy is the ultimate insult. In his world, the loser is executed. By letting him live, Goku is saying, "You aren't even worth killing. You are so beneath me, you aren't a threat anymore." Vegeta crawls back into his ship and disappears into the stars. He has lost his pride, his army, and his dignity. He is a prince without a planet, a warrior without a win. He should have been a once-off villain, but as he looked out into the window of that space pod at the Earth fading away, something in the audience snapped. We didn't want him to be gone. We wanted to see what a god does when he realizes he's just a man. We're heading to Namek next, because if the Saiyan Saga was about the prince's arrival, then the Namek Saga was about his desperation. There is a famous paradox in the world of Dragon Ball. Akira Toriyama, the man who created this world, didn't want Vegeta to stick around. He viewed him as a nasty piece of work. He intended for Vegeta to be a footnote in Goku's history. But as the Namek Saga began to unfold in the early 90s, the fan mail started pouring in. In Japan, readers were fascinated. In the West, kids were obsessed. This is the popularity paradox. Why did we, the audience, save a man who, at this point in the story, was a mass murderer? To answer this, we have to look at what Vegeta was doing on planet Namek. He wasn't a Z-fighter. He wasn't a hero. He was a high-functioning butcher. To understand why Vegeta was so brutal on Namek, you have to understand the culture that birthed him. The Saiyans weren't just warriors. They were a social Darwinist caste system. In their world, there was no potential. You were born with a number. If your number was low, you were trash. If it was high, you were a god. This was interstellar Sparta. Like the ancient Spartans, Saiyans had no room for the weak. Love, mercy, empathy weren't just soft, they were considered biological defects. Vegeta was the pinnacle of this system. But here's the tragedy. The Saiyans called themselves the mightiest in the universe. Yet they were essentially high-priced janitors for a cosmic tyrant named Frieza. They conquered planets only to sell them to the highest bidder. Vegeta's Saiyan pride wasn't a choice. It was a survival mechanism. It was the only thing he had left of a dead world. And this brings us to the psychological core of the character. Vegeta wasn't just a bad guy. He was a child soldier. He was taken from his father, King Vegeta, at a young age to serve as a trophy asset for Frieza. He was raised in a den of vipers, surrounded by aliens who loathed him and feared him. He was gaslit for 20 years. He was told an asteroid had destroyed his planet, while he suspected, deep down, that the man he served was the murderer of his entire race. On Namek, Vegeta is finally off the leash. He's a lone wolf. He's playing a three-dimensional game of chess against Frieza's entire army. and he's winning through pure, cold-blooded pragmatism. But we have to talk about the blood on his hands. On Namek, Vegeta commits what are undeniably war crimes. He slaughters an entire village of peaceful Namekians, including the elderly and children, just to steal a Dragon Ball. In Buddhist cosmology, there is a realm of being called the Asura. These are demigods of the fighting realm. They are addicted to war, consumed by pride, and trapped in a hellish cycle of losing. Vegeta on Namek is a classic Asura. He didn't kill those villagers out of evil in the traditional sense. He killed them because to him, anyone without a high power level was background noise. This is the ultimate expression of his upbringing. If you cannot defend yourself, you have no right to exist. So why did we root for him? In the West, we have a deep-seated love for the Byronic Hero. This is an archetype defined by Lord Byron in the 19th century. A man who is proud, moody, cynical, with defiance on his brow and misery in his heart. We tend to forgive a character's sins if they are directed at someone even worse. On Namek, Vegeta was the vigilante. He was taking out Frieza's henchmen, Kui, Dodoria, Zarbon, with a ruthless efficiency that Goku simply didn't have. He was the bad man who was secretly suffering, and Western audiences in the 90s, the era of Wolverine and Spawn, were primed to love that edgy aesthetic. In Japan, the love for Vegeta came from a different place. Hogan Biki, the cultural sympathy for the loser. Japanese fans saw Vegeta's desperate struggle against Goku's protagonist luck, and they felt a deep sense of pathos. They saw a man working 10 times harder than the hero, and still falling short. They didn't love him because he was cool. They loved him because his failure was relatable. It all comes to a head when Vegeta finally faces Frieza. He has spent his whole life for this moment. He has murdered, he has trained, and he has wept in private. And he is obliterated. As he lies dying in the dirt, the pride finally breaks. Vegeta cries. He doesn't cry because he's dying. He cries because he realizes his entire life was a lie, orchestrated by the man standing over him. In his final breath, he achieves makoto, a Japanese term for sincerity. He tells Goku the truth. He begs his rival to be hard-hearted. He dies as the last true Saiyan. And for the audience, this was a moment the monster died. And the man was born. He had lost his race, his pride, and his life. But, as we would soon find out, death is rarely the end for a prince who refuses to stay down. Vegeta is dead, and then he isn't. Thanks to the Dragon Balls, the prince is resurrected and transported to Earth, the very planet he had tried to wipe out just a few months prior. But the man who lands on Earth isn't the same man who left it. On Namek, he had a goal: kill Frieza. Now Frieza is gone. His race is gone. His planet is gone. And for the first time in his life, Vegeta is the Prince of Nothing. In narrative terms, Vegeta has entered the Ronin phase. In Japanese history, a Ronin was a samurai without a master. In a society built on rank and service, the Ronin was a ghost, a man with the skills of a killer but no social slot to fit into. To the Japanese audience, this was perhaps the most relatable Vegeta had ever been. He represents the salaryman who has been laid off after 20 years of service. He has all this training, all this status, but no office to go to. He spends his days pacing the halls of Capsule Corp, wearing a pink Badman shirt, a hilarious visual metaphor for his emasculation. He is a man struggling with loss of face. In the West, we often view starting over as a grand opportunity. But in a shame-based culture like Vegeta's, starting over is a living hell. If you aren't who you were born to be, then who are you? And then, the most unexpected pivot in anime history happens. Bulma. Fans often ask, why would Bulma, the smartest woman on Earth, fall for a genocidal space pirate? And why would Vegeta, who views humans as ants, settle down with one? The answer lies in their shared trait, unyielding will. Bulma is the only person on Earth who isn't afraid of him. She doesn't treat him like a prince or a monster. She treats him like a tenant. In a strange way, Bulma provides the structure he lost when the Saiyan army fell. But there's a deeper philosophical reason. In Western literature, we call this redemption through domesticity. Think of the outlaw in a Western movie who settles down on a ranch. By choosing Bulma, Vegeta isn't just choosing a woman. He's choosing to tether his soul to the earth. He's building a new planet in the form of a family. But while his home life is softening, his internal life is a volcano. Goku has returned from space as a Super Saiyan. The legend that Vegeta has spent his entire life chasing, the birthright he believed was his, has been claimed by the low-class clown. This is the existential crisis. If Vegeta isn't the legendary warrior, then his father's death was meaningless. His survival was meaningless. He pushes himself to the brink of death in 300 times gravity. He's trying to force his evolution through sheer hatred. In the West, we call this the grind. In Japan, it's koroshi, overwork to the point of death. He's literally trying to break his own biology to catch up to a ghost. And then the breakthrough. But look how it happens. Goku became a Super Saiyan through grief and a desire to protect. Vegeta becomes a Super Saiyan through self-loathing. He stands on a barren planet, pelted by meteors, and he finally lets go. He says, I don't care about being a prince anymore. I don't care about being better than Kakarot. I just don't care. The moment he stops trying to fulfill his role, the power unlocks. He breaks the glass ceiling, not by being a prince, but by being an individual. But the universe has one more psychological trick up its sleeve for him. A young man arrives from the future. He is powerful, he is a Super Saiyan, and he is, most shockingly, Vegeta's son. For the first time, Vegeta is forced to look at his legacy. Trunks represents everything Vegeta could have been if he hadn't been raised by Frieza. A warrior with a heart. Throughout the Android and Cell sagas, Vegeta treats Trunks with cold indifference. Why? Because looking at Trunks is looking at a version of himself that isn't broken. It hurts. This leads to his greatest act of hubris, allowing Cell to reach his final perfect form. Vegeta is so desperate to prove his new power, he sabotages the world's safety just for a chance to flex his ego. He fails. Again. He watches his son die at the hands of Cell. And for the first time, we see the elite lose his cool, not out of wounded pride, but out of paternal rage. Vegeta has spent this entire era trying to prove he is a god. But by the time the smoke clears from the Cell games, he realizes something much more complicated. He's a husband, he's a father, and he's still number 2. The stage is now set for the final act, the midlife crisis that will either save his soul or destroy the world. We've spent a lot of time talking about Vegeta's soul, his choices, and his redemption. But to truly understand the wall Vegeta keeps hitting, we have to talk about his DNA. In the world of Dragon Ball, pride isn't just a personality trait. It's a biological imperative. To be a Saiyan is to be a creature designed by evolution for single brutal purpose: escalation. The most famous Saiyan biological trait is the Zenkai boost, the near-death power-up. Think about the philosophy behind that. A Saiyan literally cannot become their best self until they have been utterly broken. Their bodies are programmed to treat trauma as a ladder. In the West, we call this anti-fragility, a term coined by Nassim Taleb. An anti-fragile system doesn't just withstand a shock, it gets better because of the shock. For Vegeta, this is a curse. It means his entire biology rewards him for losing. Every time he is beaten, his body says, "Good, do it again, but harder." This creates a feedback loop of toxic perseverance. It's why he can't just give up. His cells won't let him. This brings us to the biology of hubris. You've all seen the meme. Vegeta stands across from the villain, points his thumb at his own chest, and says, "I am Super Vegeta." And then 5 minutes later, he's face down in the dirt. To the audience, this looks like stupidity. But if we look at it through the lens of Saiyan sociology, it's a genetic ritual. A Saiyan needs their opponent to be at their absolute peak. Why? Because if the opponent is weak, the Saiyan doesn't get a Zenkai. They don't evolve. When Vegeta allows Cell to reach his final form, or when he lets a villain power up, he isn't just being arrogant. He is being a predator for trying to force his own evolution. He's a biological gambler, constantly doubling down on the hope that the upcoming beatdown will trigger the next transformation. In nature, this is called handicapping. It's like a peacock's tail, a sign of such immense strength that you can afford to give your opponent an advantage. For Vegeta, the prince of this race, this instinct is dialed to 11. Years after the series ended, Akira Toriyama introduced the concept of S-cells. He explained that for a Saiyan to become Super Saiyan, they needed a certain amount of S-cells, which are triggered by a gentle spirit. This retroactively explains Vegeta's greatest tragedy. Goku, the low-class warrior, was raised on Earth with a gentle heart. He was a bucket for S-cells. Vegeta, the elite, was raised in a culture of pure violence. By trying to be the perfect Saiyan warrior, cold, ruthless, and unfeeling, Vegeta was actually stunting his own biological evolution. His pride was a literal chemical inhibitor. Vegeta spent decades trying to harden his heart to get stronger, not realizing the softness of Goku was actually the key to the very power he craved. This changes the way we look at his domestic life with Bulma. He wasn't just settling down, he was, perhaps subconsciously, cultivating the gentleness his biology required to break through to the next level. Finally, we have to look at the caste system in their biology. Vegeta believes in genetic determinism. He believes that because he is the prince, his ceiling is naturally higher than Goku's. Goku represents neuroplasticity. He believes that the self is whatever you train it to be. Throughout the series, Vegeta's biology of pride is constantly being defeated by Goku's philosophy of effort. This is the ultimate subversion of the master race trope. The elite is trapped by his genes, and the low class is freed by his choices. So when we see Vegeta in Dragon Ball Super finally achieving Ultra Ego, he is finally aligning his biology with his soul. He has stopped trying to be a gentle Super Saiyan like Goku, and has embraced a path that utilizes his specific, scarred, and prideful biology. He stopped fighting his DNA and started leading it. Now we've focused on Vegeta because he's our protagonist in the deep dive, but it would be a mistake to think that this pride is a personality quirk of the prince. If you look at the history of the Saiyan race, you realize they don't have a hero problem or a villain problem. They have a biological hubris problem. In narrative terms, we call this the Saiyan engine of conflict. Almost every major catastrophe in the Dragon Ball universe isn't caused by the villain being too strong. It's caused by a Saiyan being too arrogant to end the fight when they had the chance. Look at Gohan. He's the most human of the cast. He wants to be a scholar. He hates violence. And yet, the moment he achieves Super Saiyan 2 against Cell, his DNA takes the driver's seat. He doesn't kill Cell. He tortures him. This is the Saiyan high. When a Saiyan reaches a new plateau of power, their brain is flooded with what we can assume is a cocktail of dopamine and predatory aggression. Jungian psychology suggests we all have a shadow, the parts of ourselves we repress. For Gohan, his shadow is a Saiyan warlord. When he surpasses his father, he doesn't become a better hero. He becomes a worse person. He lets his guard down. He mocks his opponent. And because of his hubris, his father has to die to fix his mistake. It happened again with Super Buu. Ultimate Gohan arrived with the coolest line in the series. Fight you? No, I'm here to kill you. And then he proceeded to do exactly what Vegeta did with Cell. He toyed with his food until the food ate him. Even Goku, the pure one, is a victim of this. Western audiences often see Goku's mercy as a Superman-style morality. But that's a mistranslation of his intent. Goku doesn't give Frieza energy on Namek because he wants to save a life. He does it because he wants to fight Frieza again later. Goku's hubris is more subtle than Vegeta's, but it's just as dangerous. It's the hubris of the addict. He gives Cell a Zenzu Bean because he wants Gohan to have a fair fight. He lets Moro eat a Senzu Bean because he wants to test his new Ultra Instinct. Goku values the purity of the contest over the safety of the universe. This is a species that would have just let the world burn just to see if they could put the fire out with their bare hands. In evolutionary biology, there is a concept called the Red Queen hypothesis. It's the idea that a species must constantly run just to stay in the same place relative to its predators. The Saiyans took this literally. They are a race of compulsive escalators. If a Saiyan is winning, they stop fighting to allow their opponents to get stronger. If a Saiyan is losing, their body evolves, using the Zenkai boost, to meet the threat. This is why they never conquered the universe permanently. They are biologically incapable of the finishing blow until they have exhausted every possibility of a good fight. This is why the Vegeta thumb point is a species-wide metaphor. It's not just a gesture of ego, it's a declaration of the Saiyan Gambit. By saying, I am the one who will win, they are intentionally putting their own lives on the line to trigger a rush of power. So, when we look at Vegeta's failures, we have to realize that he was fighting an uphill battle against his own blood. Vegeta wasn't just arrogant. He was the prince of arrogance. He felt he had to embody the absolute peak of this Saiyan trait, while Goku had earthling mercy, and Gohan had human empathy to balance them out. Vegeta was the only one trying to be a pure Saiyan in a world that no longer rewarded his biology. The Saiyan's pride isn't a crown, it's a parasite. It's a biological urge that demands the host risk everything for a moment of superiority. And that's why Vegeta's eventual move toward Ultra Ego is so fascinating. He's the first Saiyan to say, I know this pride is a weapon. I'm going to stop letting it control me, and I'm going to start aiming it. It's not a bug in the Saiyan code. It's the main feature. And as we see in the Buu Saga and beyond, the only way to cure Saiyan hubris is to lose everything. 7 years have passed since the death of Cell. 7 years of peace. For Goku, peace is natural. For Vegeta, peace is a slow poison. In these 7 years, Vegeta has done the unthinkable. He has become a good dad. He trains his son. He lives with his wife. He eats dinner at a table. But beneath the surface, there is a rot. He feels himself softening. He feels the Prince of all Saiyans being replaced by a suburban father. In psychology, we call this identity foreclosure. Vegeta is terrified that by becoming a good man, he has lost the very thing that made him powerful. And then Goku comes back for one day, and the clock starts ticking. When the wizard Babidi offers Vegeta a power boost via the Margin Curse, Vegeta doesn't just accept it, he invites it. This is a classic narrative trope, selling one's soul to the devil. But Vegeta's reason is unique. He doesn't want to conquer the universe. He wants to go back to the way he was. He says the most heartbreaking line in the series. I wanted to be the cold-blooded Saiyan I was before. I wanted to be the ruthless beast who didn't care about things like family. Vegeta views morality as a chain. He thinks that by being evil again, he will be free to finally beat Goku. He believes that his love for Bulma and Trunks is a weakness that has capped his potential. He is attempting to delete his character development. But as we soon see, you can't go home again. The margin mark is on his forehead, but the father is still in his heart. The rematch between Goku and Majin Vegeta isn't just about punches. It's a philosophical debate. Goku represents the present. He has accepted his death. He moved on. He was at peace. Vegeta represents the past. He is a man obsessed with a grudge that is decades old. Every blow Vegeta lands is an attempt to kill the peaceful part of himself. He murders innocent people in the World Martial Arts Stadium to provoke Goku. He's trying to force the world to see him as a monster again, because being a hero is too hard. It requires a vulnerability he isn't ready for. Then, the ultimate realization hits. Majin Buu is awakened, a monster that Vegeta's pride helped create. Vegeta realizes that his regression didn't make him stronger, it just made him a liability. For the first time in his life, the prince looks at the mess he made and decides to clean it up himself. Before he goes to fight Boo, he has a moment with his son, Trunks. He hugs him for the first and last time. He tells him to take care of your mother. In literature, this is the atonement. True atonement requires the death of self. Vegeta isn't just dying to kill Boo, he's dying to kill Majin Vegeta. He's sacrificing his life for the people he spent the last hour pretending he didn't care about. He asks Piccolo, "Will I see Kakarot in the afterlife?" Piccolo, being honest, says no. You've killed too many innocents. Your soul will be scrubbed clean and reborn as someone else. Vegeta accepts this. He dies knowing he won't get a hero's reward. He dies for nothing, and that makes it the most something he has ever done. But the Boo saga doesn't end with his death. He is brought back, and he has to watch Goku fight Kid Boo. He stands on the sidelines, watching Goku push past every limit. Vegeta finally has his Satori, his moment of sudden enlightenment. He realizes why Goku is better. It's not because Goku is a genius. It's not because Goku has purer blood. It's because Goku fights for the sake of the fight, while Vegeta fights to win. Vegeta utters 4 words in that finalized his 20-year character arc. You are number 1. This is the resolution of the rivalry. The Salieri has finally accepted the Mozart. It's the abandonment of the ego. By acknowledging Goku's superiority, Vegeta is finally freed from the shame that has haunted him since the Saiyan Saga. He's no longer defined by the prince. He is just Vegeta. By the end of Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta has completed the most radical transformation in the medium. He started as a man who would kill his own partner for failing, and he ended as a man who would give his life for a planet he once despised. He didn't just change his alignment, he changed his definition of strength. But the story doesn't just end here, because once you've atoned, you have to find a way to live, and that's where Dragon Ball Super takes the prince into the realm of the gods. Between the end of the Buu saga and the start of Dragon Ball Super, there is a gap in the timeline, a massive leap in the character of Vegeta. For years we saw him as a man who would die rather than bow. We saw him as a man whose pride was a wall that no one, not even the gods, could climb. But then the wall met a wrecking ball. In the Battle of Gods arc, the status quo of the universe is shattered by the arrival of Beerus, the god of destruction. For the first time in the entire history of the franchise, we see Vegeta doing something more shocking than turning into a Super Saiyan. We see him swallow his pride. When Beerus arrives at Bulma's birthday party, Vegeta is the only one who knows the truth. He remembers his father, King Vegeta, being used as a footstool by this cat-like deity. He knows that if Beerus gets annoyed, the Earth and Bulma will vanish in a literal blink. What follows is the humiliation of the proud. In the films and the early episodes of Super, we see Vegeta acting as a subservient host. He cooks, he caters, and in one infamous scene, he performs a frantic bingo dance to distract the god of destruction. For some fans, this was a betrayal of the character. They wanted the badass prince. But if you look deeper, this is further proof of his redemption. In Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, the Stoic philosopher argues that the highest form of character is the ability to endure personal shame for the sake of the collective. The Saiyan Saga Vegeta would have challenged Beerus immediately, died in 5 seconds, and let the earth burn to keep his dignity. But the Super Vegeta has something much more important than his dignity. He has a home. He is willing to be a clown, a servant, and a fool to protect the woman he loves. His pride hasn't disappeared, it has been sublimated. He is now proud of his role as a protector, rather than his role as a warrior. But every man has a breaking point, and for Vegeta, that point isn't reached when he is insulted, it's reached when the sacred is violated. Beerus, annoyed by a dispute over pudding, loses his temper and slaps Bulma across the face. In that second, the bingo dance ends. The calculated stoicism vanishes. Vegeta doesn't care about the god of destruction. He doesn't care about the destruction of the universe. He screams the words that have become a turning point for the entire fandom. How dare you! That's my Bulma! In this moment, Vegeta enters a berserker state. But unlike Gohan's rage against Cell, which was born of hidden potential, or Goku's rage against Frieza, which was born of lost innocence, Vegeta's rage is born of pure attachment. For decades, Vegeta viewed attachment, having a family, love, and a home, as weaknesses that held him back. But in this moment, his attachment to Bulma gives him a power boost that defies the laws of the series. Master Roshi, watching from the sidelines, utters the line that changed everything. In that moment, he actually surpassed Goku. Goku, the chosen one, the Super Saiyan God, couldn't touch Beerus. But Vegeta, driven by the sheer, unadulterated fury of a husband whose wife was struck, actually lands a blow on the god of destruction. This moment is the bridge to the rest of Super. It proves a fundamental truth about Vegeta's new power. His gentle heart is his strongest weapon. By acknowledging Bulma not just as a companion, but as something sacred, something that belongs to him and he belongs to, he taps into a level of energy that pure pride could never reach. In Western philosophy, this is the shift from ego to relational identity. Vegeta is no longer the Prince of all Saiyans. He is Bulma's husband. This teaches us that his rivalry with Goku has changed. It's no longer about who can lift more weight. It's about what drives the weight. Goku fights because it's in his nature. He is a force of evolution. Vegeta fights because it is his choice. He is a force of protection. When we move from this moment to the Tournament of Power and the Broly film, we see a Vegeta who is finally comfortable in his own skin. He survived the humiliation of the bingo dance and found the fire of the Sacred Heart. He's ready to be a god, not because he wants to rule, but because he has something worth defending. The prince is gone, the protector has arrived. And as we're about to see, when you threaten what a protector loves, even the gods should be afraid. In the world of Dragon Ball, there is one name that functions as a trigger for Vegeta's psyche. Frieza. Frieza is the architect of Vegeta's misery. He is the man who turned a prince into a slave, a race into a memory, and a child into a monster. For 30 years, fans waited for the moment where Vegeta would finally, truly get his revenge. And in the Resurrection F arc, he gets it. He has the power of a god. He has Frieza at his mercy. He is winning. And then he fails. By this point in Dragon Ball Super, Vegeta has achieved Super Saiyan Blue. It is a form defined by godly ki, a power that requires absolute calm and perfect control. When Vegeta steps into the ring to face a weakened, desperate Golden Frieza, he is a masterclass in efficiency. He isn't screaming, he is dismantling. This should be the ultimate catharsis. In narrative theory, catharsis is the release of a long repressed emotion. Vegeta is finally standing over the man who broke him. But here is the problem. Revenge is a mirror. As Vegeta stands over Frieza, he begins to gloat. He begins to talk. He wants Frieza to feel the exact weight of despair he felt on Namek. He wants the elite to beg. In that moment, Vegeta stops being a protector and starts being the executioner. He allows his old ego, the part of him that was obsessed with status and dominance, to take the wheel. Because Vegeta hesitates, because he chooses to savor the flavor of revenge, rather than ending the threat, Frieza does the unthinkable. He punches the ground and detonates the planet's core. In a literal second, the Earth is gone, Bulma is gone, Trunks is gone. Vegeta dies in the vacuum of space, failing the very people he swore to protect. Of course, the story doesn't end there. Whis, the angel, uses his temporal do-over to rewind time by 3 minutes. He gives Goku the chance to jump in and kill Frieza before Vegeta can make the same mistake. Goku gets the kill, Vegeta gets the lecture. This is perhaps the most humiliating moment in Vegeta's modern history. He didn't lose because he was weak, he lost because he was compromised. The Stoics believe that the only thing you can control is the present moment. By letting his 30-year-old grudge against Frieza dictate his actions, Vegeta lost control of the present. He allowed his ghost to fight for him, and the ghost almost took the entire world down with it. Whiz's critique of Vegeta is stinging. You are too high-strung. You think too much. You allow your heart to be a cage for your past. This failure is what eventually leads Vegeta to his domestic god and new king phases. He realizes that power isn't enough. If he wants to be a true god, he has to be efficient. He has to stop fighting for the prince and start fighting for a purpose. Resurrection F serves as a relapse. It's the story's way of saying, redemption isn't a straight line. Sometimes you trip over the very things you thought you had outrun. Vegeta had to watch the world end because of his ego. He had to taste the ultimate failure to realize that revenge is a cheap meal. It fills you up, but it leaves you starving for peace. He didn't get his revenge. He got a lesson. And that's what paved the way for the man who would eventually travel to Yardrat alone. By the time we enter the era of Dragon Ball Super, the Vegeta problem has been solved. He is a hero. He is a father. He is a rival. But for a character as complex as Vegeta, being a hero isn't enough. In the original series, his redemption was largely focused on his relationship with Goku and his family. In Super, the focus shifts to something much more uncomfortable, his relationship with his own past. This is the era of the Restoration. In the history of the Dragon Ball franchise, the warrior's path has always been one of isolation. To be the strongest, you must leave. You must go to the mountains, to the lookouts, to the void of space. Goku, our protagonist, has lived this for decades. He is a deadbeat deity, a man who loves his family but views them as a distraction from the true work of training. But in Dragon Ball Super, Vegeta does something that but in Dragon Ball Super, Vegeta does something that completely subverts the shonen hero archetype. He chooses the home. He becomes the domestic god, and in doing so, he becomes a much more complete man than Goku will ever be. The defining moment of this era happens during the lead-up to the Tournament of Power. The stakes could not be higher. Every universe in existence is on the chopping block. The gods of destruction are sweating. Goku is in a frantic rush, recruiting every warrior he can find. He goes to Vegeta. He expects the prince to be the first one on the plane, but Vegeta is sitting on a lawn chair. He says, "I'm not going. Bulma is due any day now." This is the subversion of the warrior's sin. In the ancient world of the Saiyans, missing a fight for the birth of a child was a sin. It was a sign of weakness. Even Goku is confused. He famously admits he doesn't even know when his own sons were born. But for modern Vegeta, the sin would be an absence. We've talked about Goku's vertical journey, his constant climb toward godhood. Vegeta, in this moment, embraces the horizontal journey. He realizes that power is meaningless if you aren't there to witness the life it's supposed to protect. By refusing to train until Bra is born, Vegeta is declaring that his dharma has shifted. He is no longer the prince of a dead planet. He is the high priest of Capsule Corp. He is the anchor. We see this domestic god persona play out in the quiet moments in Super. We see Vegeta on family vacations, being annoyed by amusement park mascots, and enduring the humiliation of being a dad. To the casual viewer, this is a comedy. But to the narrative analyst, this is profound respect. There is an old trope where the bad boy is tamed by a woman. But Vegeta isn't tamed. He is a tiger in a cage. He is a tiger who has realized the woman he is with, Bulma, is the only person in the universe who is his intellectual and spiritual equal. Vegeta respects Bulma's authority not because he's whipped, but because he recognizes her as a sovereign. He treats his home as a kingdom, and in the kingdom, the king stays to ensure the succession. When Bra is finally born, thanks to a bit of divine intervention from Whis, we see a version of Vegeta that we never thought possible. He is protective, he is tender, and most importantly, he is fiercely territorial. But look at how this affects his fighting style. In the Broly film and the Tournament of Power, Vegeta's pride is no longer about himself, it's about the promise. He fights to protect the world that Bra will finally grow up in. He fights to honor the woman who gave him a reason to stay on Earth. In Jungian psychology, the anima is the feminine inner personality of a man. For decades, Vegeta repressed his softness because he saw it as a weakness. But as the domestic god, he has integrated it. He can be the most brutal warrior on the planet, and then 10 minutes later, he can be a man who is terrified of making his baby daughter cry. This isn't a contradiction. It's wholeness. It makes him a god in the truest sense. A being who encompasses all aspects of the human experience, from destruction to the creative. By becoming a domestic god, Vegeta achieves the one thing Goku never could: balance. Goku is a primal force that happens to have a family. Vegeta is a father and husband who happens to have a power of a god. This groundedness is what allows him to eventually reach Ultra Ego. You can't have that level of self-assurance and ego if you don't know exactly what you are standing for. Vegeta stands for the house. He stands for the cradle. He stands for the dinner table. And as we've seen, heaven help the villain who tries to take those things away from him. If you had told a Dragon Ball Z fan in 1991 that the Prince of all Saiyans, the man who once sat on a throne of skulls, would one day be frantically flipping octopus balls in a takoyaki pan while wearing a Badman apron, they would have called it a character assassination. But in the Battle of the Gods arc, this is exactly what we see. Just give me 1 second. I think I copy-paste the same thing again. Okay, so we move on to the Future Trunks arc of Dragon Ball Super. Vegeta is confronted with his literal nightmare, a version of Goku who is a cold-blooded, genocidal god. Goku Black is a sham. He is an interloper. He is a soul from another timeline who stole Goku's body because he believed that the vessel of a Saiyan was the ultimate weapon. Most fans remember this arc for the emotional reunion between Vegeta and Future Trunks. They remember the father-son Gallic Gun. But the true heart of the saga, and the moment that defines Vegeta's intellectual growth, isn't a beam struggle. It's a beatdown. There is a moment where Vegeta has Goku Black pinned to the ground. He isn't just punching him. He is lecturing him. And what he says is the ultimate love letter to his rival. Vegeta screams, "You are an interloper, a total sham. You've stolen that body, but you don't know the first thing about the cells inside it." Vegeta is offended on a biological level. For decades, he hated Goku. He called him a clown, a peasant, and a low-class warrior. But in this moment, Vegeta reveals he has a deep, begrudging respect for the history of that body. Goku Black represents appropriation. He wants the power of a Saiyan without the struggle of being a Saiyan. He thinks he can just put on the suit of Goku and be a god. Vegeta's response is a masterclass in the philosophy of identity. He explains that Goku's strength doesn't come from his DNA. It comes from his history. Every scar, every failure, every bowl of rice Goku ever ate is part of his power. Vegeta says the words that finalized his journey. Only a numbskull like him can use those cells to the fullest, because he's Kakarot, and I'm the Prince of all Saiyans. Did you hear what he said there? He didn't say Goku, he said Kakarot. In the past, Vegeta used the name Kakarot as a way to remind Goku of his lower class roots. It was a slur, but here he uses it as a title of honor. He is acknowledging that Kakarot is a singular, irreplaceable existence. In psychology, integration is when you stop seeing your rival as an other and start seeing them as part of your own identity. Vegeta has spent so much time studying Goku that he knows Goku's body better than the god who stole it. By defending Goku's genius, Vegeta is also defending his own. He is saying, "We are Saiyans. Our power is earned through the dirt and the blood. You can't just steal it." This speech is what gives the father-son Gallic Gun its weight. When Vegeta and Trunks finally fire that combined blast, they aren't just trying to kill a villain, they are fighting for the real. They are fighting for a future where identity is built through love and training, not stolen through magic. Vegeta is the rightful heir of the Saiyan throne, and he is finally acting like a king. A king doesn't just protect his subjects, he protects the truth. And the truth is, no one gets to be Goku but Goku, and nobody gets to beat Goku except for Vegeta. In this arc, Vegeta stopped being the man who wants to kill Kakarot. He became the man who will allow no one to insult the name of Kakarot. This is the ultimate expression of warrior solidarity. He has moved from hate to honor. And as Goku Black learns the hard way, There is nothing more dangerous than a prince who has finally recognized the worth of his rival. For a majority of his life, Vegeta's title, the Prince of all Saiyans, was a hollow one. It was a crown made of ash. He was the ruler of a graveyard, a prince with no subjects, clinging to a name because it was the only thing Frieza couldn't take from him. But in Dragon Ball Super, the prince finally becomes a king. Not by taking a throne, but by discovering a legacy. This transformation begins the moment he meets Kaba, the young Saiyan from Universe 6. When Vegeta steps into the ring with Kaba, he expects a mirror of himself. Instead, he finds a polite, gentle boy who has never even heard of a Super Saiyan. Kaba is a Saiyan who has lost the fire of the warrior race. In this moment, Vegeta has a choice. He can crush the boy and move on, or he can rule. Vegeta chooses the latter, but he does it through the only language he knows, the language of conflict. He doesn't give Kaba a lecture, he gives him a beating. He threatens to destroy Kaba's home, the planet Salada. He plays the villain one last time, to purposely provoke Kaba's rage. Why? Because a king's job is to ensure his people are strong. Noblesse oblige is the French concept that nobility obliges. It suggests that with warmth, power, and privilege comes a social responsibility to lead and protect. In this fight, Vegeta realizes he is the last repository of true Saiyan pride. If he doesn't pass it on, the flame dies with him. When he tells Kaba, "Never forget this pain," and then demands he aim for the top, he isn't just training a rival, he is issuing a royal decree. He is creating a future for a race that isn't even his own. His mentorship reaches its peak in the Tournament of Power. The stakes are absolute. Erasure. If Universe 7 wins, Universe 6 and Kaba will cease to exist. Most warriors would focus on their own survival, but Vegeta carries the weight of two universes. He makes a vow to Kaba. "I will win this tournament, and I will use the Super Dragon Balls to bring your universe back." In the Cell Saga, Vegeta fought for himself. In the Buu Saga, he fought for his family. In the Tournament of Power, he fights for the Saiyan soul. He has become a multiversal monarch. He takes the responsibility for the survival of the Saiyan race across all dimensions. This is the moment he transcends his rivalry with Goku. Goku fights Jiren because Jiren is a wall to climb. Vegeta fights Jiren because Jiren is an obstacle to his people's survival. There is a profound moment where Vegeta refuses to cast aside his pride to reach Ultra Instinct, the state of the pure, empty mind that Goku uses. Vegeta says, "Goku can have his Ultra Instinct. I will break through my own way." He achieves Super Saiyan Blue evolution. Goku's power is divine and universal. It belongs to no one. Vegeta's power is personal and royal. It's rooted in his specific identity. By refusing to follow Goku's path, he validates his own existence as a king. He proves that you don't have to lose yourself to become a god. You just have to be the best version of yourself. We see the final evolution of the new king in the Morrow arc. Vegeta travels to the planet Yardrat. Not to learn a combat move, but to learn spirit control. While there, he reflects on the crimes he committed as a prince under Frieza. He realizes that a true king doesn't just lead, he atones. He uses his new power, forced spirit fission, to literally undo the damage caused by villains, returning stolen life force to its rightful owners. Vegeta has moved from destruction to restoration. He is no longer the man that wants to stand on a pile of bodies to prove he is the tallest. He is the man who wants to build a foundation for the next generation. Trunks, Bulla, Kaba can stand higher than he ever did. In the ancient world, a king was a conqueror, but in the modern world, a king is a steward. Vegeta has successfully made that journey. The crown is no longer made of ash. It is made of promises he kept, the students he taught, and the family he protected. Vegeta is the prince of all Saiyans, and the king of his own soul. For 30 years, fans have watched Vegeta evolve. We've seen him go from a genocidal invader to a grumpy father, but there was always a lingering question, a dark shadow over his redemption. What about Namek? In the Saiyan and Namek sagas, Vegeta didn't just fight, he massacred. He never apologized, he never looked back. Until the Moro arc. When a planet-eating sorcerer, Moro, attacks New Namek, Vegeta doesn't just go there to fight a new opponent. He goes there because he feels a pull. There is a striking moment early in the arc where Vegeta saves a young Namekian child from Moro's energy-draining attack. As he stands over the boy, he looks at the elders of the village, the same kind of people he once slaughtered, and he says something that redefined his character forever. I have a long, dark history with these people. I cannot allow another one of them to die. He isn't a hero saving the day. This is the sinner attempting to balance the scales. Vegeta is no longer fighting for pride or family. He's fighting for atonement. In Western philosophy, we often focus on retributive justice, in which you punish the wrongdoer. But Vegeta in the Moro arc is practicing restorative justice. He recognizes that his debt to the Namekian people can never fully be paid, but he can spend the rest of his life acting as their shield. This is the first time we see Vegeta motivated by guilt rather than shame. When Moro proves too powerful for raw Saiyan strength, Vegeta does something uncharacteristic. He leaves the battlefield to learn. But he doesn't go to a god of destruction. He goes to the planet Yardrat, the same planet where Goku learned instant transmission decades ago. The Yardrats teach him spirit control. They explain that Ki isn't just a battery of power, it is the balance of the body, mind, and soul. To master it, Vegeta has to sit in silence. He has to meditate. He has to confront the static of his own violent past. For his whole life, Vegeta sought vertical power, climbing higher, hitting harder, becoming a god. On Yardrat, he takes the horizontal journey. He goes deep. He learns that his spirit is cluttered by his ego. By the time he leaves Yardrat, he hasn't just learnt a new move. He's achieved a level of self-actualization that Goku hasn't achieved. Vegeta returns to the fight with a new technique, forced spirit fission. This is the most Vegeta move in existence, and yet it is the exact opposite of his old self. What does it do? It literally punches the stolen energy out of an opponent and returns it to its rightful place. Think about who Vegeta used to be. He was a taker. He took lives. He took planets. He took pride. His new technique makes him a giver. When he hits Moro, he isn't just damaging him. He's liberating the souls Moro has consumed. He's returning the life force to the planets Moro ravaged. He is literally undoing the act of consumption. In most shonen anime, the hero gets a bigger beam. Vegeta got a scalpel. He became the surgeon who cuts the cancer out of the universe. It is a technique that requires absolute precision and a calm heart. the old things the old Vegeta never possessed. There is a final beautiful irony in his arc. Why Vegeta works so hard to weaken Moro, he eventually runs out of energy himself. He has to rely on the rest of the Z Warriors, and even the stolen energy of young Oob, to finish the job. The Vegeta of the Android Saga would have been enraged he couldn't finish it himself. The Vegeta of the Moro arc is at peace. He did his job. He protected Namek. He returned the stolen lives. He has moved from the prince of a dead race to the protector of the living universe. The Moro arc proves that Vegeta is no longer Goku's rival. He is his own man, with his own moral compass and his own path to godhood. He didn't just save the world, he finally, truly saved himself. For decades, Vegeta has lived with a specific kind of arrogance. He believed that he was the pinnacle of the Saiyan race, because he was the one who survived. He was the prince who outlasted the king. But in the frozen wastes of the Arctic, that delusion is shattered. He is confronted by Broly. Broly isn't just a powerful enemy. He is a living ghost. He is the physical manifestation of the one thing Vegeta can never escape, the sins of the father. In the updated canon of Dragon Ball Super, the conflict between Vegeta and Broly isn't personal, it's ancestral. 40 years ago, King Vegeta, fearing Broly's latent potential, exiled the infant to a hell world. He chose safety over strength. He tried to bury the future to protect his son's throne. When Vegeta faces Broly, he isn't just facing a warrior, he's fighting a debt. Broly is a creature of pure determinism. He was shaped by exile, his father's revenge, and by a world that tried to kill him. He is a weapon with no hand on the hilt. Vegeta, conversely, represents agency. He has spent the last 20 years reinventing himself, moving from villain to hero, from prince to father. In this fight, Vegeta is challenged to prove that his earned power is superior to Broly's born power. Look at the way Vegeta fights in the opening minutes of the Broly film. It is perhaps the most royal he has ever looked. He doesn't scream. He doesn't charge blindly. He fights with a surgical, terrifying efficiency. He stays in his base form for as long as possible, analyzing Broly's movements. Even when he shifts into Super Saiyan God, the crimson-haired form, he is calm. This is a masterclass in the refined warrior archetype. Vegeta is showing us the difference between power and skill. He treats Broly as a wild animal that needs to be broken, not out of cruelty, but because he recognizes that Broly has no spirit. He is just raw, unrefined kinetic energy. Vegeta's movements are a statement. I am the prince of this race because I have mastered its nature. You are merely a victim of it. As the fight progresses and Broly begins to adapt, something fascinating happens. Broly starts to mirror the very thing Vegeta used to be: uncontrollable rage. As Broly loses his mind to the great ape power in human form, Vegeta sees his own... Just 1 second. As Broly loses his mind to the great ape power in human form, Vegeta sees his own past staring back at him. He sees the great ape of Earth. He sees the margin of the Buu saga. He sees the Saiyan who is the slave to his own biology. In the Broly fight, Broly serves as Vegeta's shadow. He represents the primal Saiyan that Vegeta has spent years trying to civilize. By fighting Broly, Vegeta is symbolically fighting his own demon. This is why Vegeta is the one who tries to finish the fight early. He recognizes the danger of that old fire. He knows that if Broly isn't stopped, the Saiyan nature will consume everything, just like it did Planet Vegeta. By the end of the film, after the fusion into Gogeta has ended the threat, we see a subtle shift in Vegeta's tone. He doesn't demand Broly's execution. He doesn't mock him for losing. He simply watches as Goku goes to check on the survivor. A king doesn't just protect his people, he populates his kingdom. By the end of this confrontation, Vegeta has accepted a startling truth. He is no longer the last of a dying breed. With Broly and the Universe 6 Saiyans, the race is growing. The ghost of the past has been laid to rest. Broly is no longer a threat to the throne. He is a potential subject. He is a brother-in-arms who has failed by the system. The Broly confrontation is the final exorcism of the Saiyan royal family. Vegeta has faced the worst crime his father ever committed, and he survived it, not by being more royal, but by being more evolved. He has taken the sins of the father and paid them back with the grace of the son. Vegeta didn't just beat Broly. He stood on the wreckage of his father's legacy and refused to let it crush him. In that moment, the ghost finally found peace. We have talked about Vegeta's redemption in terms of his family and his rivalry. But in the Granola the Survivor arc, Vegeta is forced to face the same ghost, his father's legacy. For 30 years, Vegeta has called himself the Prince of all Saiyans. He wore that title like a suit of armor. But on planet Cereal, he meets a man named Granola, the sole survivor of a race that the Saiyans, led by King Vegeta, completely annihilated 40 years ago. For the first time, the prince realizes that his crown is made of the bones of the innocent. When Vegeta realizes who Granola is, his reaction isn't one of defiance, it's one of weariness. In psychology, there is a concept called blood guilt, the idea that you are responsible for the crimes of your ancestors. Through the Granola arc, Vegeta is struggling with a massive internal weight. He feels the Saiyan race deserved to die for what they did. In a startling moment, Vegeta tells Granola, "I understand your hatred. If I were you, I would want us dead too." Vegeta enters this fight with a death wish. He is trying to atone for his father's sins by allowing Granola to kill him. He's using the fight as a form of self-flagellation. But in the heat of this battle, Vegeta achieves a new divine state, Ultra Ego. Goku's Ultra Instinct is about letting go. It's angelic, it's detached. Vegeta's Ultra Ego is about holding on. It is about the power of the self. The more damage he takes, the stronger he gets. At first, Vegeta misuses Ultra Ego. He thinks it's about enduring pain to pay for his sins. He lets Granola beat him because he thinks he deserves the punishment. But as the fight reaches its breaking point, Vegeta has a massive realization. Wallowing in guilt is another form of ego. I am not my father. Vegeta realizes he cannot fix the past by dying in a crater. He cannot save the Cerealians by letting himself be murdered. He screams to the heavens, "I am not my father, I am not the Saiyan race, I am just me." This is the final death of the Prince identity. By rejecting his father's legacy, Vegeta is finally free. He realizes that Saiyan pride shouldn't be about the conquest his father led. It should be about the resilience he has built on Earth. He stops trying to die for the past and starts trying to live for the future. He eventually stops the fight, not with a blast, but with a plea for Granola to see the truth. They are both victims of a cycle of violence started by men who are long dead. By the end of the Granola arc, Vegeta has achieved something Goku hasn't: moral clarity. He has looked at the darkest parts of his history, the genocide his father ordered. He has chosen to be the man who stops the cycle. He has decoupled his pride from his bloodline. Ultra Ego isn't just a purple-haired transformation. It is the state of a man who is so secure in his identity that even the weight of a dead race cannot crush him. Vegeta has moved from the prince of a dead world to the individual of a new path. He has finally put the crown down, and in doing so, he has finally become the leader his race always needed. He doesn't need a throne anymore. He has the dirt beneath his feet, the family in his home, and a soul that finally, truly belongs to him. And this leads us to the ultimate philosophical fork in the road between Goku and Vegeta. Goku achieves Ultra Instinct. This is the pinnacle of the empty mind. It is an angelic state of being where the self disappears. It is the ultimate expression of the Buddhist ideal, detachment from desire. But Vegeta tries it and fails. Why? Because Vegeta is his self. His ego, his history, his pain, they are the engines of his power. So, he develops Ultra Ego. While Ultra Instinct is white, glowing, and ethereal, Ultra Ego is purple, flaming, and brutal. Vegeta embraces the God of Destruction path. But here's the twist. It's not Margin Vegeta 2.0. He isn't being evil for the sake of it. He is taking his self-reliance to a divine level. He says, I'm not going to let the universe move my body for me. I am the one who moves. In a Western sense, this is radical individualism. In a Japanese sense, this is the Tatsujin, the master who has reached such a level of skill that his ego and his blade are the one and the same. He has turned his greatest flaw into a weapon of the gods. We see the culmination of this in the movie Superhero. Goku and Vegeta are sparring on Beerus's planet. No transformations, no god power, just two aging warriors in the dirt. And for the first time in 30 years, Vegeta is victorious. It's not a world-ending explosion. It's a simple tap. He falls over exhausted and smiles. Goku's journey is vertical. He wants to go higher, to fight the stronger gods, and to reach the sun. He is a myth. Vegeta's journey is horizontal. He wanted to fix his broken soul, heal his family, and find a way to be proud of the man in the mirror. Vegeta is the human heart of Dragon Ball. He is the one who suffered, the one who failed, and the one who had to work for every single inch of his redemption. He started as a prince of his dead world, but he ended as a king of his own life. Vegeta reminds us that no matter how dark your past is, no matter how many villain arcs you've lived through, you are never finished. You can always choose to be number one in the eyes of the people who love you. And in that moment, more than any Super Saiyan transformation, is the true pride of the prince. I want to thank you all for joining me on this lengthy podcast. I do enjoy doing these character studies, these deep dives into some of the characters that are famous worldwide, to really explore the narrative process that drives them and the narrative process that Akira Toriyama went through with this particular character. I will admit that I am very biased when it comes to enjoying the exploration of this character. He is my favorite. But either way, I want to thank you all for joining me on this podcasting journey. Next time, we are exploring Lex Luthor from the Batman vs. Superman series that Zack Snyder did. We're going to be exploring the theodicy of Lex Luthor, man versus God. And I'm looking forward to sharing that and my opinion with you all. So, thank you so much for coming. I do realize this is quite a lengthy one, but I do hope you all enjoyed it. And until next time, stay shiny everyone, and thanks for coming.